Okay, this video is going to cover 5.1 parabolas. Basically, what's going to happen is you're used to up and down parabolas. So like this or like this. Well, there's a lot more to parabolas. They have what's called a focus. This is a dot that goes on the inside of the parabola. So like if it was going down, it would be right here. So the focus is the red dot. They also have what's called a directrix. It's kind of like a line on the far side of the parabola, opposite of the focus. So directrix is this green dotted line. And basically this distance is called your p-value. And it's also the same distance. So it's the distance from the vertex to the directrix, or it's the distance from the vertex to the focus. P-value. That distance is the same. And this p-value is probably the most important thing you need to know about a parabola. It can tell you a lot. You'll see direction of the graph, either up or down. I don't know really what it's asking for there. It's either up or it's down if it's vertical. And then standard form for the equation goes like this. It goes x minus h squared equals 4p y minus k, like that. And the main takeaway from this is it's minus h and it's minus k. So like when you go to get your vertex, they're both going to be lying to you. You'll see what I mean. All right, and then you can also have horizontal parabolas. So like this or like this. Now these are weird because they're not actually a function, but basically your p-value is still a dot on the inside, like here. And your directrix, instead of being a horizontal line, is going to be a vertical line, like this, or like this, still on the outside. And this distance, whether it's from vertex to directrix, or if it's from focus to vertex, that's still your p-value. So in this one, same thing, the focus is the red dot. The directrix now though is a vertical dotted line, which by the way, horizontal dotted lines are y equals numbers. Vertical dotted lines are x equals numbers. You're gonna need to know that moving forward. Direction of the graph is either gonna go right or left. And then the equation in standard form for horizontal goes parentheses y minus k squared equals 4p x minus h. And then one more thing you need to know, p-value, if it's positive, that's when your graph opens to the right. If it's negative, that's when your graph opens to the left. And then if you're talking about verticals, when it opens up, that's a positive p-value. When it opens down, that's a negative p-value. You'll see what I mean, but you need to know that information. Okay, let's take a look at some. Basically, your vertex is here, this blue dot. So that's at -5, 1. Your focus is the dot on the inside of that parabola. So it's right here. That's at -5, 5. So just by knowing these two things, remember I can get my p-value, it's the distance right here. This distance goes from a y value of 1 to a y value of 5, meaning that distance is 4. And this graph's opening up, so I know my p-value is positive. But I mean, if you look back to this first thing I was talking about, when your p-value is negative, your focus is going to be below your vertex. So just keep that in mind. And then the directrix, this is a vertical parabola, meaning your directrix is horizontal. It's this line right here. When it's horizontal, it has a y equals equation. And then you just give the y value of this. So that's -3, it looks like. So now I could write this equation in standard form by going like this. It's a vertical parabola, so it's going to start out x minus h squared. So my vertex, the h right here, is -5. So I write the opposite of that, +5, equals 4 times p-value. 4 times the p-value would be 4 times 4, which is 16. And then x minus y minus k, sorry, y minus k. K is 1. So remember, this one lies as well, so you write -1. This would be the equation in standard form. Look, the way that you get good at this is you practice them over and over. I know I probably went over that problem and lost some of y'all. Some of you are already confused. That's okay. It's just the more of these that you do, the better you'll get. So like, look at this next one. I'll try to color code everything if I can. So this next one has a vertex at 3, 1. It has a focus at 3, 4. So I know this graph is going to open like this just from that piece of information. The red dot's always on the inside of like the U shape. This distance from blue dot to red dot is my p-value. Since it's opening up, my p-value is positive, and that distance goes from a y-value of 1 to a y-value of 4, meaning my p-value is +3. That's probably the first thing I would find. Because now that I know that, I know it's 3 units down to my directrix, this green dotted line right here. So this directrix is a y equals line, and it's y equals -2. So now that I know all this information, I can write this equation in standard form. So I go x minus h. So here's my h, here's my k. So I go x minus 3 squared equals 4 times p-value. P-value was 3, parentheses y minus k. K was 1, so I write y minus 1. So simplify that a little bit and you get x minus 3 squared equals 12 y minus 1. That would be my answer. Look at this next one. Put your vertex down. -1, -1. That's right here. That's the blue dot. That means this is my HK. The directrix y equals 2 is a horizontal line right here. So now I go find this p-value. The p-value is this distance right here from vertex to directrix. That's 3 units, but you need to realize it's going to be a negative p-value, because what's going to happen is you're going to go 3 more units this way to get to your focus. And so that means the line is going to open like this. The green dotted line is always outside of the U shape. So I couldn't have drawn my line like this because then I would have crossed it. So that told me that the parabola opened down, which told me my p-value was negative. That's kind of how I was thinking about it. So now this is enough information. If I wanted to, I could write the coordinate for this focus, but I don't really need it in terms of solving this. It's just going to be x minus h. So x minus -1 is x plus 1 squared. Just change h. That's all I was doing there. Equals 4 times p-value of -3 y minus k. Just change k, so y plus 1. Simplify it a little bit, so you get x plus 1 squared equals -12 y plus 1. All right, this next one, put your focus down. So that's the red dot, -2, 0. Then they give you a directrix, y equals -4. So that's this green line right here. All right, now if you've been paying attention, you can realize that, like, look at this first graph that we did right here. This vertex is always smack dab in the middle of your focus and your directrix. So if you're looking for your vertex, go find the dead center of this orange line. That'd be right here. that's going to be your vertex. So just by this information right here, I'm able to tell myself that the vertex, the HK, is -2, -2. So this graph opens something like this. And so now I have enough information to write my equation. It's a vertical, so it starts out x minus h, change your h, so +2 squared equals 4 times your p-value is this right here. So that's +2. You could have done it right here as well, seeing that that was 2 units. So 4 times 2, y minus k, so y plus 2. Then just simplify it. Okay, this last one, they give you a focus, 4, -5. Let me scroll down a little bit. 4, -5's right here. Then they give you a directrix, y equals 3. Y equals 3 is up here. Remember, your vertex is smack dab in the middle there. So that would be right here, which means my graph's going to open something like this. The U wraps around the red dot. So I know my p-value has to be a negative number. And this distance right here is 4. So it's p equals -4. And so I know my p-value, my vertex, my HK was 4, -1. So now I can write the equation, and it's just x minus h, so x minus 4 squared equals 4 times p-value of -4, y minus k, so y plus 1. So my final answer here would be x minus 4 squared equals -16, y plus 1. All right, last page. Given the equation, graph the parabola. So start with your vertex. You have to change this and change that for your h and your k. So this vertex is going to be at -3, +2. -3, +2 is right here. Now, the tricky part of this is getting your p-value correct. You take whatever number's here, -8, and you divide by 4. So my p-value is -2. What that means is from this vertex, I'm going down 2 units to get to my focus. So that tells me that the graph opens something like this. It also tells me that my directrix is 2 units up, 2 units the opposite way right there. So in terms of labeling what's what, this red dot's the focus. This orange part is your p-value. The green is your directrix. And then the blue dot's your vertex. All right, look at the next one. Go find your vertex to start. So change the x, change the y, so you get 3, 2 for your HK. So go put that dot down. There we go. All right, now the tricky part's getting your p-value correct. So you take this number, 16, you divide it by 4. That tells you your p-value, +4. That means I go up 4 units to get to my focus. It means I go down 4 units to get to my directrix. So now I know my focus. I know that my line has to open something like this around the focus. I know that this is my vertex. I know that this is my p-value. I know that this is my directrix, which, by the way, the equation of this is y equals -2, and the equation of the previous one was y equals 4. And so that should be everything they asked me to do. All right. Now, horizontal parabolas are a little different, but basically the same principles. You're going to have a vertex, you're going to have a focus, you're going to have a directrix. And when you write your equation, the HK is still opposites. So my vertex here is at 1, -1. My focus, the red dot, is at 5, -1. That immediately tells me that I went 4 units to the right here. This is my p-value from vertex to focus. So p is +4. I know it's positive because when a graph opens to the right, you have a positive p-value. When a graph opens to the left, that's when you have a negative p-value. Your directrix now is a vertical line, which means instead of y equals, it's going to be an x equals line. So the x value there is -3. So the equation of this would be, now instead of x minus h squared, it's y minus k squared. So it's y minus, here's h, here's k, y minus -1 or y plus 1 squared equals 4 times p-value x minus h. Now 4 times 4 I would simplify to be 16, so I would actually write this. All right, 2 more. The vertex, -4, -2. Put a blue dot there. The directrix, x equals -1 is a vertical line at -1. So it's right there. That tells me that this distance is 3. This is going to be my p-value, but it's going to be -3 because it pushes my focus this way. So my graph actually opens something like this. When it opens to the left, that's when you have a negative p-value. I couldn't have opened to the right because then I would have crossed the directrix. So I know my p-value equals -3. And I know my vertex, which is my hk. So now I'm ready to write my equation. When it's a horizontal one, you start out y minus k squared. So that's y plus 2 squared equals 4 times p times x minus h, so x plus 4. Then simplify it a little bit. Y plus 2 squared equals -12 x plus 4. All right, this last one, plot your well, I guess it gives you your focus, so that's 4, -3 right here. It's the red dot. Your directrix x equals -6 is a vertical line right here. Remember, you kind of look at this thing and you split the difference and you find the dead center of it, which would be here, and that's your vertex. So this vertex, this hk, is -1, -3, which tells me that this graph is going to open to the right like this. Tells me my p-value is +5. So I'm ready to write my equation. Starts out y minus k squared, so that's y plus 3 squared, equals 4 times p, so 4 times 5 is 20, x minus h. And that's how you do the basics of parabolas. Hope this video was helpful.